Well, for some interesting timing, our prior video, we covered Ripple National Trust Bank. Can we bank on it? And in doing so, we covered this article, Countdown to Ripple's U.S. National Bank Win. Is it XRP about to explode? And it was covering a post on X by Steph is Cripple saying that it is imminent. Well, apparently, according to Well Insider, it is no longer imminent. It is approved, although OCC made a conditional approval for five National Trust Bank charters to include Ripple. Let's talk about that.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Hi, I'm DK Will. This is DK Will Talk About It. And yes, it is officially announced on the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency's news release page. It is the first one that pops up for December 12th, 2025. The OCC announces conditional approvals for five National Trust Bank charter applications. Today, it announced its conditional approval subject to the meeting the OCC's conditions. These institutions will join approximately 60 other national trust banks currently supervised by the OCC. And in granting these approvals, the OCC applied the same rigorous review and standards it applies to all charter applications. The OCC carefully reviewed each application based on its individual merits, consistent with the applicable statutory and regulatory factors. The OCC conditionally approved applications for de novo National Trust Bank charters for First National Digital Currency and Ripple Trust Bank. They conditionally approved applications to convert from a state trust bank to a national trust bank for BitGo Bank and Trust, Fidelity Digital Assets, and Paxos Trust Company. Seems like cryptocurrencies and the blockchain are getting their foothold in the financial system. They provide access to new products, services, and sources of credit to consumers and ensure a dynamic, competitive, and diverse banking system. The OCC will continue to provide a path for both traditional and innovative approaches to financial services to ensure the federal banking system keeps pace with the evolution of finance and supports a modern economy. This is amazing news. They currently include more than 1,000 national banks, federal savings associations, and federal branches of foreign banking organizations operating in the U.S. that range in size from 1,000 smaller community banks under 30 billion in assets, focus on meeting local needs, to the largest internationally active banks. Which one do you think Ripple's going to be? You can almost bank on it. International. They conduct a wide array of businesses that range from retail and wholesale banking activity to trust, credit card, and other more narrowly focused services. The institutions that make up the federal banking system conduct approximately 67% of the banking activity in the United States, hold more than $17 trillion in assets combined, and administer more than $85 trillion under their control. Awesome news. What does National Trust Bank Charter actually mean? A National Trust Bank Charter is a type of federal charter issued by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency under the National Bank Act, allowing institutions to operate as national banks with a focus on fiduciary and custodial services rather than traditional banking activities like accepting deposits or making loans. They are limited to activities such as trustee, executor, administrator, guardian, investment manager, or in other fiduciary capacities, and can also engage in non fiduciary capacities like custody services and under certain conditions, issue payment stable coins. The charter provides significant regulatory advantages, including federal preemption over state licensing requirements, allowing NTBs to operate nationwide without needing individual state money transmitter licenses or virtual currency licenses. Ripple has just gained access to the entire nation of the United States, not to mention the international business that they're really going to do. This makes it an attractive option for fintech and digital asset companies seeking to streamline operations across state lines. They are not required to have FDIC deposit insurance unless they choose to accept deposits from the general public, which would trigger additional regulatory requirements. If an NTB does not accept demand deposits, that's checking accounts and savings accounts, and is not FDIC insured, it does not meet the definition of a bank under the Bank Holding Company Act, meaning the parent company is not, Ripple being the parent company, subject to Federal Reserve supervision or the comprehensive regulation of a bank holding company. This allows financial companies to own NTBs without being classified as bank holding companies. And that looks like exactly what Ripple has done. Despite all these benefits, the expansion of NTB activities into areas like stable coin issuance and digital asset custody has raised concerns among community banks and regulators about competitive fairness and consumer protection, as these products may resemble deposits but lack FDI insurance and core customer safeguards. So it's not doesn't sound like a good place to hold your money because there's no insurance. When I say money, I basically mean crypto because that's what they deal in. And we just read that they don't generally accept demand deposits from the general public. So I thought about this while I was preparing this video. I wasn't too gung ho on the thought of turning my assets over to a bank because banks are, you become an unsecured creditor when you put your money in a bank. And the same would be the case here, except for the fact that now this talks about custody and things of that nature. So I'm wondering if they get something down the road like SIPC insurance. I don't know. But what it does do is this has led to an increased interest from fintech companies, including Circle and Ripple, which have applied and now successfully obtained their charters. Wow. So if you have not come fully appreciate just what type of financial behemoth and company Ripple is becoming, it's going to be hard to convince you of that. And therefore, when the FUD comes out, because it is coming out, and I've seen it coming out, it's even coming out in some of the comments, by the way, of trying to say that Ripple is a ish coin and crazy stuff like that, and it's not doing anything and things like that. It is the core of the business of the company that just received OCC approval for a charter as a national trust bank. Ripple and XRP are not going anywhere but up. Soon. I'm DK Will, and this is DK Will Talk About It. And I talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.